not sure if you can relate to this, but every time Hunter x Hunter comes back, I'm just filled with this insane joy because it probably has the best world building and political drama in all of anime and manga. I know that's a bit of a wild statement to make, but I really think that it's true. And a whole lot of that has to do with the insane power and status of the Hunter Association. Think about it. It's the reason that Gon starts his journey, its members can get away with literal murder, and it's also the world's entire defense force. And since we've been getting some fresh Hunter x Hunter recently, I've kind of found myself wondering, when I really think about it, how strong and influential is the Hunter Association really as a government body in this Hunter x Hunter world? I'm talking about things like military strength or political influence, you know, all those crazy factors. Well, today I'm gonna do my best to answer that exact question. But first, I should probably generally explain what the association actually is. That way, all of you can realize just how widespread their influence and power actually is in this world. So, for starters, the Hunter Association is an organization that exists outside of the V6 nations, which are the 6 major countries within the Hunter x Hunter world. Now, they aren't exactly like, let's say, the United Nations. They're more like sort of if Amazon were a military organization, which is just a really scary thought, but they kind of exist everywhere across the globe, have bases, and operate without any restriction, and the world can no longer function without them. Now, they all focus on different categories of hunting, ranging from bounty hunters to scientists or even cute. Don't exactly understand what a cute hunter is, but it is real. But regardless of what style of hunter they are, we do know that they are all the physical peak of human society. And we do know this for a fact because they all have to pass the super intense hunter exams just to have even a chance at getting their license. Now, it does seem like there are a bunch of ways to win it, and it's all about highlighting your own personal strength, so you may not need to be like god tier strength or anything super wild. You just have to be able to make up for it in other ways, like being super rich, having a machine do your business for you, or I guess ninja stuff skills. But just because you have all of these skills or resources doesn't mean that you can just become a hunter right away. And that's because at its core, the Hunter Association is a super exclusive group. I know it's normally marketed as this super special organization, and having one of those cool licenses is super rare and worth a fortune, which I'm definitely going to talk about in just a bit as well, but I never really stopped to think about just how few members there actually are. Let me break it down for you. By the end of the anime, there are a total of 635 members, and then during the manga's Dark Continent voyage, it bumps up to around 785 due to the provisional licenses being given out as well. Now, if we just use the real world for scale, only 1 out of 10.2 million people in the entire world are a hunter, which is actually surprisingly good math on Togashi's part because he describes Gon and Killua as 1 in 10 million talents when describing their potential, which is a weird but also cool coincidence, though I do not really believe in coincidences. Honestly, I didn't realize it, but in the series itself, we only actually see 20 people in total pass the exam between the 287th, 288th, and 289th hunter exam, which is really not a lot. Okay, awesome. So now we generally have a baseline for what this organization is. Now, I can finally start really breaking down why I think that they are crazy busted and eventually talk about the wild realization I came to about just how dangerous a single hunter can actually be. Well, why don't we start with this one? For one, each of these 785 people is capable of pretty much doing whatever they freaking want in the world. Murder? Yeah, apparently hunters can just flash their license and get pretty much away with it. This is actually incredibly important for the likes of the Soldic family, a family who have built generational wealth by just straight up, murdering people. Now, all of them do it in secret, except for Killua and Illumi, who can now technically murder without worrying about the government hassle, as long as it's for a hunt. Now, the biggest rule out there is pretty much don't kill other hunters or politicians, but even then, that's okay sometimes if it's voted on by the Zodiacs. Oh, yeah, speaking of, I should probably explain those as well. The Zodiacs is this high council of hunters, so keep that in the back of your mind as well. I'll talk about them in just a few moments, since I still have to go over what a hunter basically can do as well. For example, every hunter has access to Q, a completely anonymous messaging system that cannot be detected by any other government body. Again, when you really think about it, pretty messed up and pretty cool. They've also got the Hunter website, a site with some of the most restricted information on the planet, and they can use their license as well as a universal travel visa anywhere within the V6 nations. Now, why is that important, you ask? What's the point I'm trying to get at here? And how does it tie into the world-ending power of one specific hunter? Well, to answer that, I want you to think about just how incredibly damaging a person could be to the entire world with access to exclusive forbidden information, untraceable messaging, and free murder. That's right, they could just simply commit an entire coup. And that's pretty much exactly what Illumi Zoldyck does, or if a hunter is strapped for cash, they can just overtake an entire mafia family's wealth. I like to call that move the coup d'Apica, since that's pretty much what he does during the York New City arc. Or I don't know, let's say if a hunter was feeling really frisky, they could even wage all-out war from the shadows by killing one Archduke in Austria-Hungary. Oh, no, unfortunately, that one happened in the real world. Whoops, but it does sound kind of like a Hunter thing. But it does make me wonder just how many world wars have been started by hunters in their society, because that is totally doable. Let's be real, theoretically at least. Because seriously, we all know that money and status equal power, and the ability for these incredibly strong, smart, and talented people to just murder whoever they need as long as it helps their hunt is actually a terrifying thought. If the person is strong enough, like Ging Freaks, Pariston, or Beyond Netero, Isaac Netero's son, they could manipulate an entire nation to do their bidding and just completely get away with it. And oh wait, that's exactly the plot and direction that the story is going in right now. I mean, that's exactly how the Succession War was kicked into motion to begin with and was revealed to be Beyond Netero's plan to make it to the Dark Continent. Well, will you look at that? Maybe I'm not that crazy for actually caring about this so much. Are you starting to see why I'm asking myself this question now a little bit? It's actually also super important to acknowledge that all of these people can use Nen at a really high level. That's pretty much a must for any hunter and is considered the secret part of the hunter exam. Because basically once you become a licensed hunter and get your cool double X credit card looking thing, someone is bound to show up at your door and say, hey, look, this is this Nen thing and you really need it in order to be respected and get any job, which is pretty convenient, all things considered, I guess. Okay, cool. So less than 1,000 people in the world can get away with murder and control the world from the shadows. That just pretty much sounds like real life to me. But what really makes this organization so strong? Let's say that's a fair question, and my answer is that the Hunter organization is actively regarded as the strongest military unit in the world by all the V6 nations together. Now, technically, they aren't really a government despite actually owning the former nation of NGL, but they are kind of closer to a company than a real government. And this weird limbo political status is actually the reason that during the Chimera Ant arc, Netero led the charge against the ants. I mean, the world hired him and his hunters to take care of a world-ending threat. Now, you might not know this, but the nations had to actually hire the entire organization and cannot just hire specific members. It's a bit of an odd dynamic built on respect, trust, and faith in this crazy organization's power, and that kind of speaks volumes, I think, to their strength as well, in my opinion. Because even though many of you, me included, would rather not, it's kind of important to remember a little thing called politics here. Now, these nations can't just straight up wage war and block trade routes from each other because that causes a little something called a global crisis. However, what they can do is hire these freelance warmongers to do it for them. How do I know this? Or at least why do I think that this is the case? Well, simply put, there is a weapon of mass destruction that the Hunter organization has that completely changes the story and gives them truly insane status as a group. It is the bomb that kills Meruem, at least almost. I'm talking about the Poor Man's Rose. Now, even though it's not official, let's be real, the Poor Man's Rose is basically just a nuclear bomb that can be manufactured for pennies on the dime. Hence, the name. We actually do know that up until Chairman Neteros used his on Meruem, the Poor Man's Rose had bloomed 10 times over in more than 250 countries and took a little bit over 5 million lives in the Hunter x Hunter world. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna need to go on a little bit of a rant about this, because why is the statement phrased like this? My gut kind of said, oh, it's like a nuke, so they probably meant like 10 times, but then I realized that didn't really make sense. I mean, for that bomb to get used in that many countries, 250, and cause that many deaths, that 10 times number doesn't actually add up, meaning that it was most likely 10 times 250, so 2,500 times. So why didn't they just say that? At least I think that's what that means, right? I don't know, man. It just doesn't really make that much sense. It's a mass-produced bomb of mass destruction, and apparently there's hundreds of thousands of these sitting around between all the countries, which again, messed up, but also very similar to our real world, sadly. And actually, I think it's even more confusing when you consider that apparently the straw that broke the camel's back was when a terrorist attack caused 110,000 deaths, and that's when the International Peace Treaty to forbid production actually first kicked in. Meaning that apparently the other 4.9 million lives weren't enough to stop weapons of mass destruction from being used. Also, apparently the countries can still use the ones that they still have. They just officially can't make more. Like, why is the Hunter x Hunter world so depressing on so many levels and just so similar to real life? Psych, because in the real world, you can just keep making bombs. Nobody's stopping us. We can just stay winning, baby, and bomb more stuff. Fun. Anyhow, the big point I'm trying to make here is that the Hunter Association has these things on lock. Netero put one inside of his heart to kill Meruem, meaning, like a country, this world governing agency has access to miniature nuclear bombs capable of killing the strongest being in the world, Meruem. That means using their massive assortment of airships, all of which can cross international boundaries without any issue, they could, in theory, I don't know, bomb the entire world and reduce it completely to ashes. But that's crazy, right? Why would anyone ever want to do that? I mean, look at this dude's face. Surely he's incredibly trustworthy and has nothing bad planned whatsoever. No, but truly, it's absolutely possible, and it's the absolutely insane thing to realize about the Hunter Association. These are some truly awful people without any restrictions, and if it hasn't already, it's bound to cause a few international crises soon enough. Seriously, let's look at this. Hisoka, Ilmi, and Periston, they're all hunters that commit murder and espionage, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I do think that Periston is plotting to take over the entire world. Anyone with me on that? But more on this rat soon enough, as he single-handedly could just be a world-destroying threat, which actually reminds me, I haven't introduced you yet properly to the 12 most powerful people in the Hunter x Hunter world, the 12 Zodiacs. Now, these animal-themed people are the best of the best when it comes to hunters. To me, it's kind of like if the Power Rangers were also in charge of global politics, I guess. I'm the Ancient Hunter, go Boar Power, or I'm the Disease Hunter, go Dog Power. You get the idea. Now, some of these people, like current Chairman Chettle, are people who can create vaccines for diseases like cancer, or there is someone like Gigante who is a terrorist hunter capable of taking down the world's most dangerous criminal organization all on his own. Now, these 12 hunters range across the various types of hunters there exist and are all appointed due to their status, power, and also their political influence. That last one is, for example, the case for the best character in Hunter x Hunter, Leorio. Now, to put it simply, the Zodiacs are crucial to maintaining the Hunter organization and are truly the most dangerous people in the world. Even the absolute weakest of them, my goat Leorio here, can use his political influence and charming personality to sway the masses to accomplish a goal. Like, he has no qualifications and is just a dude, and yet has been appointed to the highest office in the world, essentially. Thank God that stuff does not happen in the real world. Okay, we've talked about individual power, weapons, etc., but they don't have the manpower, right? Again, this is an organization that has less than 1,000 people. They can only do that much damage. Now, the V6 nations use them because they live outside of political boundaries and legal boundaries, but surely if they ever overstep, they'd collectively just nuke them and eradicate the entire organization, right? Well, maybe, and this is where the true hidden power of the Hunter Association comes into play. I've been hinting at it all day, and it is now finally time to explain why Periston Hill single-handedly made the Hunter Association the most dangerous group in the entire world. How he alone made it stronger than the rest of the entire planet, and with his power, he could destroy not only the Hunter x Hunter world, but our real world in just a matter of days. You see, in the wake of the Chimera incident, the world was left in shambles. The Hunter Association lost its president, had to hold elections, and in the meantime was also responsible for cleaning up the mess caused by the secret Dark Continent threat as well. And all of this created the perfect storm to cover up the dark, underhanded dealings of one Mr. Pariston Hill. This guy was originally the vice president of the Hunter Association and was clearly acknowledged as a rival to Isaac Netero, the world's strongest man. But it actually wasn't because when he claps it destroys the entire world or his Nen ability was a tsunami that levels entire islands. No, it's because he is a sneaky little freak who is smarter than pretty much everyone else around him except for maybe Ging Freaks. Well, he is smarter than him, but Ging is just smart enough to see through to his true colors, I guess. And actually, while all of that is true, we don't really know what his Nen power is, and I just relearned the fact that Pariston was actually one of Netero's sparring partners. So maybe he is actually also really powerful as well on top of that, but still, the real threat of his is how smart he is and all the secrets that he keeps. So, what does Pariston here have up his sleeves? Well, it's just a little tiny army of 5,000 chimera and hybrids in cocoons just waiting to hatch. Just one of these ants is stronger than probably about 70% of the hunters, give or take, based on how we see the chimera ant squad handle them. And as hybrids, they now have a near infinite level of growth and potential if given the chance to mature. Now in Hunter x Hunter, these ants are a nightmare level threat and don't have any training and kind of just unlock Nen in its rawest state. And they would have destroyed the world if the hunters hadn't caught them so early. Like, seriously, Meruem was only alive for 40 days. Imagine if he had just 3 months to fully develop. Like, everything would have been so much easier if Kite was able to just kill them when they were tiny, like he was actually supposed to do it. But regardless, think about what overwhelming terror 5,000 fully trained ants would bring with access to the best Nen training, military-grade resources, and how you could slap a poor man's Rose in every single one of them as well if you really wanted to. And based on how Pariston talks about them, he's very confident that they will bend to his will. And let me just say, this is legitimately the scariest thing I can possibly imagine, and I do have some dark and twisted fantasies rolling around in that head of mine, let me tell you that. Now, Pariston literally has access to a mutant army, and a small handful could just single-handedly overthrow a country in a matter of days if they really wanted to. Again, not official, but I'm pretty sure that this is the direction that the series is going to, considering that all of the Zodiacs and major hunters are all on the Black Whale sailing for the Dark Continent. So, meaning that this leaves Pariston's 5,000 ant army just chilling in the former nation of NGL, and pretty much the Zoldycks are the only strong group left in the V6 nations right now to deal with them. Okay, so surely that must be it, right? That's the true peak of the Hunter Association. I've solved it. They are capable of nuking countries, breaking international law, and just throwing the entire world into chaos, and just one single member could single-handedly become the God King of the world. Like, that's pretty strong if you ask me. No, of course not. No, they have even more power than just that. They are the only group of people capable of entering the Forbidden Dark Continent, the homeland of the Chimera Ants, and several other calamity level threats as well. Okay, long story short, the world of Hunter x Hunter is actually just a big lake in an even bigger world, and everything outside of this lake is capable of unspeakable evils. The evil wish servant Nanika that lives inside of Killua's sister Aluka and the Chimera Ants are really just a couple of sweet examples of the truly unspeakable evils that the Dark Continent holds, but there is so much more. And honestly, maybe I should just do a video on the 5 threats and what they're truly capable of, but for now, it's important to know that the 5 threats are only accessible to hunters. And by that, I mean that the only people who could accidentally bring them back to the mainland are hunters who are approved or sneak away from the V6 nations. Because going to the Dark Continent is forbidden, and only a small handful of people have ever even survived this journey. Netero here went twice and spent spent his entire life training up the Hunter Association so that the world could explore it because he did know he would never be strong enough by himself. The big problem is, every time someone goes there, they always bring some sort of death back with them. It's sort of like how when the Spanish went to the South Americas, they brought all these death and diseases with them to these untapped civilization that they came into contact with that they just couldn't deal with, but instead they go to this far off land and bring the disease back with them and then kill their homelands. And that's what the true power hiding within the Hunter license could actually bring. It could bring calamities, death to millions, and just destroy all of human civilization. Power, unlike anything the world has ever seen, cannot be controlled or fixed at all. And that is the real strength of the Hunter Association. It is capable of bringing about the literal end of the human world by choice or by accident. And bro, I mean seriously, there is no other series out there that does it quite like Hunter x Hunter. The Hunter x Hunter world is just so incredibly cool and full of some of the wildest political drama, world building, and just compelling characters, all of which centers around these insanely odd moral dilemmas about power and status. Like, there's enough depth and material here to make videos on just about anything. For example, Nen, the Hunter x Hunter power system, is full of these weird specific clauses, branching pathways, and detailed powers that allow the user to do just about anything, from destroying a forest with a single punch to creating a giant Buddha statue capable of slapping around the strongest being in existence. So if you don't believe me, watch this video where I break down the entire Hunter x Hunter power system, and then just try and tell me in the comments it is not the best power system in all of anime. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. What a great show. And yeah, I hope I will see you in this next video.